and then they'll return for debate on suspension bills. And now live coverage of the U.S. House.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., February 14th, 2012. I hereby appoint the Honorable Andy Harris to act as Speaker pro tempore on this day. Signed, John A. Boehner, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Pursuant to the order of the House of January 17, 2012, the Chair will now recognize members from lists submitted by the majority and minority leaders for morning hour debate. The Chair will alternate recognition between the parties, with each party limited to 1 hour, and each member other than the majority and minority leaders and the minority whip limited to 5 minutes each. But in no event shall debate continue beyond 1:50 p.m. The Chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Poe, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to address the House for 5 minutes to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, the country cannot afford the great ruler and his administration. He costs too much. He spends too much. He taxes too much. He regulates too much. He cuts defense too much. He grows the government too much. He divides the people too much. He blames others too much. He controls our lives too much. He despises criticism too much. He says no to domestic energy too much. He obstructs drilling in the Gulf of Mexico too much. He says yes to OPEC too much. He subsidizes bankrupt green energy too much. He ignores the border too much. He sues states too much. He infringes on religious freedom too much. He tries to make Americans dependent on the government too much. He likes giving away somebody else's money too much. He campaigns too much. He expands government too much. He borrows too much. He taxes people who die too much. He taxes people who live too much. He likes the word trillion too much. He increases unemployment too much. He likes the phrase more deficit too much. He lets gasoline prices rise too much. He makes health care cost too much. He ignores the Constitution too much, and he panders to radical interest groups too much. He berates capitalism too much. He refuses to compromise too much. And he really likes big government too much. Mr. Speaker, we cannot afford the great ruler, and especially his administration. And that's just the way it is.
The Chair recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Connolly, for 5 minutes.
Address the House for 5 minutes and revise and extend.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And of course, those watching on television and here in the House, I assume my friend from Texas was talking about President George W. Bush. Certainly, he was not talking about the current President, Barack Obama. But I want to talk today about transportation. The residents of my Northern Virginia district endure one of the worst commutes in the nation. Each citizen spends an average of 74 hours stuck in traffic, costing the average commuter nearly $1,500 a year in lost productivity and consumption. They're understandably fed up with congestion and traffic, and they want to see improvements being made. They want to be able to get to work without having to leave in the middle of the night to get there on time. They want to be able to attend a child's school activities or go to a doctor's appointment without having to take half the day off for work. The unmet needs in Northern Virginia alone top $600 million a year. Across the Commonwealth of Virginia, they exceed $100 billion over the next 25 years. My constituents and I are ready for a robust transportation bill that will repair our roads and bridges and expand commuting options, especially transit. Sadly, H.R. 7 is not that bill, and it's laughable for the House Republican majority to claim otherwise. Their plan will cut investment in transportation and in our nation's crumbling infrastructure, and it will cut, not create, jobs. In highway funding alone, Virginia will lose $361 million under this proposal compared to current funding. H.R. 7 completely eliminates bus and bus facility funding for the Washington area metro system and the nation's other metropolitan transit authorities. Just 5 states out of 50 will receive more highway dollars over the next 5 years. All the rest are losers. This bill eliminates all dedicated user funding for transit, prompting even the conservative Chamber of Commerce to urge Congress to reject this proposal. Nationally, this bill will cut $16 billion and result in the loss of more than 500,000 jobs, which will serve as an abrupt speed bump for our economic recovery. Mr. Speaker, that's unacceptable. We can and must do better. 26 business leaders in my community, including the Prince William and Fairfax Chambers of Commerce, realtors, builders, contractors, recently signed a resolution in which they said, quote, "New transportation infrastructure is an investment, not a cost, and failure to invest will result in economic decline." They're right. They've witnessed firsthand the consequence of not making significant new, dedicated, and reliable investments in infrastructure. Due to this lack of investment at the state level, federal revenues are now the single largest source of transportation funding in my state. That's why $500 million in state dollars are diverted annually from new construction to simply maintenance as more and more roadways deteriorate, and along with them our competitiveness for attracting new employers and their families. But it's not just roads. My community supports a multimodal transportation system that includes bus and van pools, commuter and rail, and mass transit. We have the second highest transit usership in the nation, yet our success in getting people out of their cars and off the roads is now in jeopardy because of this bill eliminating dedicated funding for transit, breaking a 30-year commitment that we have to supporting multimodal options for commuters all across America. Under this proposal, money that's been dedicated to transit will now go to highways, and one-time general fund transfer of $40 billion somehow is supposed to make up for it. And to further salt the wounds of my constituents, Mr. Speaker, House Republicans are proposing to pay for that one-time general fund transfer by gutting the retirement benefits of federal employees. As a result of the 2-year pay freeze, federal employees have already contributed $60 billion over the next 10 years to deficit reduction, but that's not good enough. This new proposal would pile on by increasing out-of-pocket retirement costs by at least 3 times while reducing overall benefits by 40%. Once again, the House Republican majority is using dedicated federal workforce as a punching bag politically and discouraging today's young people from even considering a career in public service. So let me get this straight. The Republican bill will actually reduce spending on transportation, end the reliable user fee funding system that's been in place since 1956, shifting the burden onto the backs of federal employees. That's not progress by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it will just make congestion worse. I urge my colleagues to defeat this bill and work together on a bipartisan alternative. With that, I yield back.
Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the Chair declares the House in recess until 2 p.m. today.